Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by our power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Rocket Roof Show here with your host, Andy Neer. And today I have a special guest with us, Wally Brown from GAF. He's a senior commercial installation specialist there at GAF. And I know he trains a lot of guys for installing Single-Ply and other similar systems. And I want to welcome you to the show, Wally.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for taking it out of your time to come on here. I know you guys are pretty busy. Although I think last time we talked, you said you haven't been busy because of COVID.
Well, yeah, I'm busy, but it's more not what I'm used to doing, more of the virtual stuff, which I think everybody's headed up to hear of that. So we're just they're loosening the reins on us a little bit. I'm just chomping at the bit to get back on the road. I never thought I'd say Mr. But
I was on the road the last 2 days for like 17 hours. So I'm done with the road for a while.
Oh, well, I miss it. So I'm every day I come in, I'm stuck doing these Zoom webinars and meetings and just.
So just to give a preface, give us a little bit of background about yourself. How did you get into commercial roofing? I know you told me you've been in for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, I started roofing right at, it was high school, summers and whatnot. And then, I got out of, my parents told me to go to college. I was like, no, I want to get in the real world, make money. That was a mistake, So, I started roofing, and like I said, in the summers and just started on the ground, picking up trash. And then I slowly went to work he was a commercial roofing contractor. We did commercial and residential, probably 70-30, mostly commercial. And I kind of worked my way up, being to a foreman. Worked for him for about 18 years. I lived in Northern Illinois, Wisconsin border. So that local 11 worked there. And then actually went to business myself with actually my foreman. Had a business. I was part owner for 6 years. Jumped off the roof one day and blew my knee, said I was done, got out. And if you've been in roofing long enough, it's like the mafia. You can't get out.
Yeah.
Out of roofing for a year, went to work for a distributor, hated it, stuck in an office. I used to go on runs with the guys. So my GAF guy actually talked me to come in here, and I didn't want nothing to do with roofing. I wanted to get out of it. So I reluctantly came to GAF, and it's probably the best move I've made because you go back to what you know. That's what I know is roofing. Now that's kind of what I enjoy doing. I enjoy the teaching. Not that I know it all, but I think if I kind of pay it forward, if you will. Yeah. I've made the mistakes. I want guys to benefit from the mistakes I've made.
Exactly. So you mentioned you did residential and commercial side by side for a while when you were a worker. I'm just curious, which one did you like better? Were you drawn to one or the other?
Commercial.
Okay.
Commercial. Yeah.
For those listening, why is that? I mean,
actually, believe it or not, commercial is easier on your body. I'm realizing that now because if you shingle, I mean, you're bent over all day on your knees. It wears on you. I mean, there's not many 67. Well, there's probably some out there, but I mean, you could pick them out of a crowd. The old roofers, knees. And to me, residential is a lot more drama than commercial. And commercial, I think, opens up. You become a better roofer because there's so many different, systems out there. And I got to do them all. I started doing built up. We did torch, we did mop. And then we started going into Single-Ply, did EPDM, and then when they put a heat gun in my hand, I just fell in love with it. I mean, you kind of become a craftsman when you start doing Single-Ply or detail.
So I know you do a lot of training with TPO, PVC, and EPDM, but honest, what's your favorite roof system of all time?
Of all time, no, that's a loaded question. Built up is still a good roof, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you still got to know how to put it on, but Single-Ply was probably my favorite type. I mean, it's easier work. Now, you've got to know what you're doing. It seems simple. But probably Single-Ply is my favorite.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is equipment on a Single-Ply roof, particularly for PVC and TPO. And I'm going to comment here. I think you're having a little bit of connection issues with your internet because you're lagging in and out just a little bit. So I apologize for that, folks. But the content's still going to be great, so we're not worried about that. Bear with us. But we're going to be talking about the equipment that is used on TPO and PVC Single-Plies. So I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to ask you about the installation equipment. I know there's a lot of guys that they might do a 10 square garage roof and might get a hand welder or two. But I'm talking about people that are doing 75 squares and up, maybe 200 or 300 squares. Or maybe getting into that first 100 square project. And you wouldn't believe how many guys I've talked to. They're like, we do a lot of residential, but this customer has a business, or, somebody asked me and they're just worried about getting over that hurdle of because you get over 100 square. Now you're looking at something a little more production minded. You're not going to be able to do with a hand welder. So talk to me about what kind of critical tools are you going to need to do a bigger commercial roof like that?
Yeah, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. And I'm sure you've seen us, and throughout my, I do training, I do classes, and we get a lot of residential guys coming in and want us to make that leap in commercial because it looks easy. And then they see the price of some of these tools, and they're like, whoa, handguns. A good handgun's going to run you $400 to $600, depending on where you're at in the country. You could buy them all day long for $100, $150, but it's kind of like buyer beware. Those $150 handguns versus those $400 handguns. $150 one, you're gonna be lucky if you take the sticker off your bumper of your truck. You got to get good quality tools, and I think that's the big thing is sticker shock. So, and I always tell guys, don't go cheap on your equipment. If you're gonna play in the commercial sandbox, okay, and this might scare some guys out there, to get good quality tools to start off. Jobs like you're talking about, smaller jobs. Obviously, get bigger jobs. You got to get bigger and better equipment. But you're probably looking at $12,000 to $15,000 for good quality tools. So that includes good heat guns. Everybody thinks screw guns. All screw guns are created equal. No, there's different. Yeah. To do Single-Ply, to drill into like a metal deck, you really need like a low torque RPM screwdriver or a driver. A lot of guys that see it, and it works. The cordless ones, impacts, but those impact drivers on a metal deck, believe it or not, over time it wears the holes out when you start drilling that screw in. Yeah, you got to have good quality screw guns. Probably the biggest one is a robot. Again, there's all kinds of robots out there. A good robot, now we're just talking the robot itself, is going to run you anywhere between, and don't hold me to this, but I'm going to say $7,500 all the way up to maybe $9,000. Okay, but again, you get what you pay for on those. Not all robots are created equal. Mm-hmm. Power source generators. Again, not all generators are created equal. I can go to Hope, like we tell you, most manufacturers will tell you, even the manufacturers that make the robots, a minimum of a 10,000 watt generator. Okay, I see guys all the time are up there running 5,000 watt, 6,000 watt generators, and they're trying to run all this equipment. It doesn't work. But now they're blaming the equipment, or they're blaming the material. So, and to give you an example, like a 10,000 watt generator, like at a big box store, you might pay, I don't know, $4,000 for. If you go to somebody that's dedicated to making generators, that sells the equipment that goes along with it, you're probably going to pay about, for a good generator with a Honda motor on it or Tecumseh motor on it, you're going to pay probably 20 to 30% more. And the reason is it's harmonic distortion in those generators. Basically, in a nutshell, there's more copper in it. Mm-hmm. So you've got cleaner electricity coming out of those more expensive generators. And they're going to last twice as long.
So what will happen? Let's say a guy has a 7,000 watt generator on there on his roof, and what will happen? Will it not have hot? Does it maybe get some cold welds or some?
7,000 watt will probably run just a robot. Okay, well now you got handguns. Okay, how are you going to run those? Now you got screw guns. How are you going to run those? You run a 7,000 watt generator with a decent robot. Say you got 3 or 4 screw guns. Every time that guy hits a trigger on a screw gun, it's drawing juice from that generator. It's going to affect
Yeah.
that robot. It's going to affect the longevity of that machine. You know, I could tell you horror stories if we got time. I got a real kind of a funny one. We got a minute here. I can tell you
Go
what
ahead.
happened. So it's been several years ago. It was during the football playoffs. It was on a weekend. I get a call. I had to drop what I was doing. I had to fly out on a Saturday to the Midwest. Our membrane wouldn't well. Well, when you tell powers that be that something's wrong with the membrane, it freaks everybody out. So I had to jump out and go see what's going. Because you know what happens? Bad material gets out there, and everybody does it. So I get to the job site, and the foreman didn't even want me up there. So he meets me up down. I'll never use this again. Never had this problem. You know, this manufacturer. I'm like, hey, I'm here to solve. I hear cause problems. We go up on the roof. He's got a 10,000 watt generator. But remember, it's during the football playoffs. He's got a big screen TV on the roof. They got a little mini refrigerator next to it, and they're running all the equipment. So I didn't say a word. I said, so what's going on? He said, look, I can't, the robot won't weld the material. I'm getting cold welds. I said, how about unplugging all this stuff and let's try and weld it again? Well, he didn't want to buy it. And we did it and it welded fine, but he still didn't believe it still had something to do with the membrane. So you got to have good power because these equipment they're using on these single plies are power hungry, especially those robots. So
that must have been a pretty powerful TV.
Well, it was, you know, yay big, but yes. You know, and another thing, you got to have cords. There's certain cords that go with these generators. We even tell you in our spec book, 10 gauge cord, 100 foot, 10 3 cord, 100 foot max. I was on, I think your webpage the other day, and guys were asking about cords. It was kind of funny. Guys were saying, yeah, you go to Home Depot and buy a 12 gauge cord, cut the cord off, and you're good to go. Just get different plugs. That ain't gonna work.
Right.
It's gonna affect that equipment.
Everybody's an electrician, huh?
Yeah. Cords themselves, they're $500-600. You know, now I'm sure stuff's even maybe doubled.
Well, that's an OSHA violation, anyways, right? You have to have a factory sealed cord on the roof.
Come on, man. Talk about roughly. Oh, not listening, right?
I'm sorry, I take that back.
Did you know Andy Neer has been using Top Roof Marketing for the commercial roofing division of his business for more than 3 years? If you're not happy with the results you're getting or haven't looked into all the ways out there to grow your commercial business, take a look at toproofmarketing.com. They can show you solid data to back up the proven strategies they use to get their clients more commercial business year after year.
So before we head to the next one, what other critical installation tools you think maybe?
Well, you get into Single-Ply. I mean, there's all kinds of systems. You know, like Rhinobond is a big one. Rhinobond. So, like anything in this roofing days costs $5,000 to $6,000 to $10,000. But that's more for production. I mean, that's a different type of systems.
Can you briefly explain what the Rhinobond system is? Because there's a lot of guys that don't really understand. Like, where does that benefit and where does it not benefit?
Heat induction, kind of like, I'm sure you've seen the stoves that you put water on, it boils like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Rhinobond, the machine is kind of the same thing. It's a special plate that's coated with TPO or PVC. So you anchor your insulation down to it and you weld the membrane to the plate. So again, you eliminate like mechanically attached, you're putting screws and plates in the seam. That's how you hold the roof on.
Yep.
Or fully adhered, you're gluing it on. This actually does two things. It's kind of a mechanically adhered system. It's a combination of the two, but you're welding to the Rhinobond plate with this. Looks like a little R2D2 machine.
Yep.
Hit a button, taps it, put a magnet on it. When it's done, it beeps. Put a magnet on it that does compression and draws the heat out of it. And it welds that membrane to the plate.
And it's approved by most manufacturers, right?
Oh, yeah. It's is it end all cure all? No, because like a concrete deck, you're not going to pre-drill all that because that's what's holding your roof on.
Right.
That's what you
But it does allow you to eliminate some things like picture framing in some instances.
You're not using half those in all full sheets, and there's ways to lay it out where you can actually, like EPDM back in the day, you could go the field sheet up the wall in one shot. You could actually your flashing. So there's kinds of ways to lay it out.
Yep. So I've heard some guys use the instance of like if it's less than 150 square, it probably economically doesn't make sense to do Rhinobond. But
and probably at 150, 200 square, in Rhinobond kind of rare. Adhered systems are always getting a little more pricey because you got the glues involved and whatnot. Yeah, once you start climbing, 500,000, yeah, Rhinobond to me is probably one of the best systems out there when you start talking those bigger jobs.
Yep.
Plus, you've been on a roof, right? You were foreman, your owner. When you walk, let's say you got a big job, you've got to, before you walk off that ladder at the end of the night, so you can sleep, what's that roof got to be? It's got to be watertight, right?
Yeah.
Right. Gives you that advantage where you can actually get watertight quicker.
Oh yeah.
In a standard system.
And if you look at the video of the uplift, wind uplift tests on that thing, it's crazy. When they put about 80 or 90 miles an hour on it, and this thing sucked up like a pillow. It's pretty crazy.
So basically, any roof that you lay them in a grid pattern, so every 2 square feet, this direction or that direction, you've got a Rhinobond plate where you're actually welding to.
Yeah.
So, most guys, you got to go to school on it. I don't like change. I don't know how you are. I hate change. You drag your feet, or you make me shove my face and make me realize it.
Yep.
Most never done it, hate it till they get a couple jobs under the belt.
Yep. So. Yep. Let me ask you about the AccuTrack. I mean, when you said change, and I bought an AccuTrack. It's an automatic. As an owner, I think other owners can kind of probably agree with me on here. You're like, oh, cool, something that's going to save time. For $1,500, $2,000, we can save the guys' backs from bending over, save some time, and then the guys are like, new tool. And I thought I was the only one, and I see other guys on the group that are like, yeah, my guys, they use it for a day, they won't use it.
Right.
And so, can you speak a little bit about the AccuTrack?
Yeah, that's the over 40 crowd loves that. But back in the older version, yeah, they were not very good. Back in 20, 25, 30 years ago. I remember those. They weren't very good. And again, I think they're a very good production tool. Now, because you can use them for the seam plates and the insulation plates, and they also for the Rhinobond. They got different attachments.
Yep.
But again, you got to get your guys, they got to be trained on it, because the biggest problem I've run into is when it jams. And then guys don't want to mess with it. They just throw it and go back to the old screw gun. To me, again, that's a no-brainer. And I'll ask you as a building owner, what costs more on a job, material or labor? What do you think costs more?
Labor. Yeah.
And if you can save labor, sure, that gun's going to cost you $2,000, but it's going to save you labor in the long run. It's money in everybody's pocket.
And not only is it more expensive, but you have less control over labor than material. Like material is like, that's $150 for that material, but labor. If your guy is doing a job that's just painful or it sucks or whatever, it's probably going to be slower. Or if you have a piece of equipment, you can actually have a set a pace.
Yeah, exactly. Now the AccuTrack, is it on a chopped up roof? Is it advantageous? Probably not. But on a wide open like a Amazon warehouse, hell yeah, all day long.
Oh yeah.
But you got to train your guys how to do it, whether they like it or not.
Are there other brands besides AccuTrack?
I think Milwaukee's got some out there. I think SFS has a tool similar to that out there. There's all kinds of
AccuTrack's made by OMG, right?
Yeah, OMG.
Okay.
And then you got to buy they'll come in sleeves and all that. So
okay. Yep. Yeah, mine had a different boot, so you can use round plates or square plates or But just a quick tip on the AccuTrack. One thing that guys hate about it is they forget that they put a screw in. They talk to their buddy, and then they put a second screw in. They jam it up. Takes like 15 minutes to break it down and reset it. So just don't put another screw down there. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I would. Anybody that's listening to this, that's thinking about we're talking about this, if you're going to AccuTrack, they will send their guy out and train your guys.
Yeah.
I made the same mistake when I was. Well, we know what we're doing. Yeah. Well, then it's all the parts over there you never use again.
Yeah.
They'll come up, you guys use it for no charge.
Yep.
Take advantage.
So let's transition here. We've been talking about install. Let's talk about tear off a little bit. Let's talk about maybe some of the tools that you would use for maybe you get. It's not every roof you're going to get on that's, got 2 inches of ISO and EPDM on it, and it's a easy peasy. And some guys get on there like 2 or 3 layers of built up with some mod bit. So let's talk about some of the tools that you would need for a big tear off.
A big tear off. I mean, you need, and I remember back in the day, I worked for a bus. It was cheap. We had to go in and do a tear off and broom to gravel. He didn't want to pay for somebody coming to vacuum it. We had to, with push brooms, it was a 2,000 square job, push brooms, wheelbarrow shovels. And that took forever. A roof vacuum service, it's worth their weight in gold. They come in and vacuum the gravel off for you, tear off or ballast of EPM. It'll suck that off there. Power carts, on a big job.
Do you think you can kind of give an idea? I mean, I'm not going to put you in the corner, but like 200 square job, vacuuming it off with a roof vac compared to doing it with labor. I mean, I'm not even mentioning the back breaking work. Your guys are going to hate you, but like, how much can you save? Like probably $5,000 to $10,000.
Oh, I'd say more than that.
Yeah.
You're probably in that $10,000 to $15,000 range.
Yeah.
And like you said, your guys are going to last a hell of a lot longer.
Yeah. And you just look more professional, right? When you come in with a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, taking a wheelbarrow full of gravel and dumping it outside the building. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Bigger jobs, these power, like, invest in a 4-wheeler or two if you can on these big jobs. That's just transporting equipment on a big job is labor intensive. If you don't have the ability to own a crane, distribution, work with your distribution partners. They can crane that stuff up there for you. You got to move it around, obviously, but you got a huge job. They're going to only put it one spot. Now you got to get to the end of the roof.
So I want to go back to what you said, a 4-wheeler. And I know there's other pieces of equipment that you can get up there that are, they look like a little tractor. They're custom made for the roof. There's several different ones, but now you're talking about weight. What should a guy look for when, you can't just throw caution to the wind and be like, oh yeah, that roof's strong. I'll just throw a 5,000 pound unit up there. What preventative measures should a guy take before he puts a heavy 4-wheeler or a piece of equipment up there?
Well, you need to go inside the building and, see what the structural part, look from the underside of the building. If you're going to load equipment, you definitely need to have it over the load bearing joist. A low TPO, what's a 10 by 100 really, pushing 400 pounds. And usually those are probably 10 to a pallet. Now, you could maybe set a pallet on the roof, but you better damn sure make sure it's over a structural beam. Odds are you might have to break those down on the ground to get them to where, to store them on the roof. Plus, you don't want a 10 rolls sitting on a pallet, and now your guys got to get them off that pallet when they're trying to, lay up the roof.
Yeah.
So spread those rolls out. Insulation, there's some weight to it. You start most guys you can lift up about 8 bunks at a time and set on the roof. There's a lot of weight in one area.
Yeah.
So break stuff down. That's where these 4-wheelers come in. So here a power cart or something.
I know. I know when roofers and crane operators get together, they're like, how much can we do in one lift? We can do 8 rolls. It's like a challenge.
A lot of these new construction jobs, if you don't have a crane, you got to get equipment up. The guy driving the loan for the GC, a 12-pack goes a long way with that guy driving. Hey, can you lift this up for me? Here you go, buddy.
Yep.
Don't make a habit of it, but in a pinch, you can work something out with your GC. The guy that's driving that low around, they got a crane on the job.
Yep.
A way to cut costs too.
So one moment here, Ed, come over here.
Okay.
I'm actually on my podcast talking about commercial equipment. I got I'm going off script here, and I'm going off. Here's Ed. Ed and I have known each other for probably 8 years now.
I think.
He's my ABC rep, and the last year or so, he's been concentrating more on the commercial side. And so he just happened to stop in while we're doing our podcast here. That's why I was doing the this is Wally. You can't hear him right now because he's in my headset. But this is Wally. He's a senior commercial installation specialist for GAF out of Chicago.
Nice.
And
Wally,
so,
how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good to meet you, sir.
So we're talking about different equipment and tear off and installation equipment for Single-Plies. So
cool. Very good.
But,
Very good. Yeah, I just popped in to say hello. I was in the neighborhood, so I won't keep you. Wally,
I'll be done. I'll be done in a few minutes. If you want to just hang out for a minute.
Okay, I will. Yep, fair enough. Next.
And we're back. And Jonathan, you can go ahead and keep that in. I think that'd be a nice little touch for the. If Ed was residential, we wouldn't have had him come on. But since he's commercial, he qualifies. I fully vetted him. So yeah, you wanted touch on a little bit on like roof cutters or spuds?
Yeah, I mean those power roof cutters, and the name escapes me. The one's got what's that called? It's got the scissoring jaws on it. It's on 2 wheels.
The Roof Warrior.
There's another one. It's a green. It's on the tip of my tongue.
I know Garlock makes a lot of
but
good ones like that.
There's a brand I can't think of it to save my butt right now, Andy. But yeah, good guys. Those are very expensive too, and I think we talked earlier. And, guys are cutting a roof with axes. Chunks and lifting it up. Hey, I get it. I get it, man. You got to do what you got to do, to make hay. But I mean, invest in the equipment, especially those power tear off shovels, man. We didn't have those when I first started. We did it with tear off bars and an axe. And the first job was on. We had one of those. That's like, holy crap!
Yep.
There's like it's a 20th century. You got to get with it. 21st century now. But.
Not to go off subject here, but I was a kid. I was on a cherry and apple farm. We had a cherry shaker. This cherry shaker was made by the Friday Company, and it took about 8 men to run it. One guy to drive it, 2 or 4 guys pulling the tarps out under the tree, one guy manning the tank, one guy running the forklift. You add all the guys up, and it was like 6 to 8 guys to run this piece of equipment. Well, just when I got in high school, another piece of equipment came out called the one-man shaker. It actually was a retired almond shaker. We got it from the almond grower out in California. And we were like blown away, like, holy cow, like we're going from 6 people to 1. And it was twice as fast. And I'm like, that was like revolutionary to me. And I felt like we were like Henry Ford, inventing the assembly line.
So that'd be a lot more expensive than the one you had, but you're eliminating all that labor, right?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing, anything. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and I see guys, and I don't want to go off subject either, but the bucket adhesives, guys with the paint rollers, and they're still doing it. And look at the adhesive. I'm sure you've seen the spray adhesives that are out there now.
Yep. It's
like night and day, and there's still guys. And again, I get it. Nobody likes change. They're stubborn because that's the way we've always done it.
Yep.
You got to experiment.
Exactly. So let's talk about safety a little bit. You got obviously the cones and the flags, and then you got attached perimeter barricades. Can you tell us a few different ways that people can use for safety?
Yeah, and I'm old school roofer. Safety wasn't a big thing back in the day. I hated wearing a harness, but I'm telling you guys, the older you get, the more safety cautious you are. There's so many safety, inventions out there today to keep guys safe. Because at the end of the day, you got a family to go home to. I mean, it sounds cheesy, and I get it, I understand it, but it's serious. I was unfortunate to be on a job. I worked on a job. Guy fell 15 stories. I was involved, and I'll never want to experience that again.
Wow.
A lot of people out there, you think, wow, you're a big sissy. Yeah, I am a sissy until it happens to you one day. You'll understand. With those portable T-Rex, the T-Rex things, you guys can actually hook into. They're portable, they're mobile, they move right along the roof with you.
Aren't they called a Raptor?
Raptor, the T-Rex is another brand. The big yellow thing that's got all the weights and stuff. There's multiple areas you can hook onto it.
Yep. One thing about those is they're like insurance, right? Like you buy them so you hope you don't have to use them.
Yeah, and
right.
A lot of big contractors' yards. There's brand new ones sitting there because they haven't had to use because they've already got some on the job. But their yards are full of them. Yeah. So there is. They know how to play the game. The safety game is something you don't want to mess with. Yep. Plus, those you find could run you out of business.
Yep.
In a hurry.
What about the barricades? I haven't used them yet, but the ones that they attach to the side of the coping, maybe the gravel stop on the edge, or somehow.
For the flags that come up, yeah. I was just
no. You can put horizontal 2x4s on them, and they're okay.
That was pretty slick. The first time I seen it was actually on a job start about a month ago up northern Wisconsin. They actually had them on. That's the first time I seen it. It didn't damage anything. There was just like a big U clamp attached onto it, and they had the 2x4s and the flags all the way down through there. Very simple. It was a hell of a lot easier than the flag stands and the poles.
Yep.
Anchored. They had them angled so they're 6 foot away, I believe, from the edge. So.
Yep. I mean, the flags have their spot. I know a lot of guys start with the cones and the flags, but you got to keep them 6 back from the edge, and so you still got to deal with that last 6 feet, and then obviously they're out in the middle of your material, so you got to move them as you're doing work all the time. And so they do have their limitations, even though they're less expensive. They have their drawbacks.
Yeah. And the poor residential guys, they got to deal with that too. You know, the flags and the scaffolding. So.
Yep.
But it's the world we live in today. So.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about as we close here. The catch-22 of equipment, and that is, do I buy the equipment before I sell and land the job, or do I sell and land the job before I buy the equipment?
Well, that's kind of like I said, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So if I was advised to somebody that's getting into commercial roofing, if you can, and this is easy to say, if you can swing it, if you're serious about making that step to get into bigger and bigger person, you buy the equipment.
Yeah.
Or if you could finagle it into your bid, we kind of talked about that. But you know, $15,000 or $20,000 on a bid, and you still get the job. You're thinking, what did I miss? I still got that job, and I put an extra $20,000 on there. And, you know, figure out when you're doing your bids, set aside a certain percentage to buy that equipment. Each time you get a job, that'll add up really quick.
Yep.
So if it were me, I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna get good equipment. I'm gonna pay good money for it, so I'll have it. Now it forces me to use that equipment to go out and bid more and get better jobs.
Yep. There's always the option too of if you sell and land the job, renting the equipment.
Sure.
There's not a lot of options around where I'm at, but I know in some of the bigger metropolitan cities, there's plenty of places you can go rent the equipment.
And you can also, some of these equipment they rent, like robots, might be used once or twice or three times. Some of those guys will sell that to you at a discount.
Exactly. So I wanted to add one more thing. We didn't really talk about hand tools. I know we didn't talk about EPDM today because EPDM is so easy. I mean, it's still a good system, but it's so easy to get into that all of the tools are they're all under $100, right? And so that's why EPDM is so easy to get into. Not like TPO and PVC with the heat welders, but you still have to use seamers and hand rollers and everything. So let's just glance over that a little bit about, because I know a lot of guys are like, oh, there's one kind of roller. Well, no, actually there's dozens of kinds of rollers. So can you give like a little brief summary of like when you use a silicone or a neoprene or a rubber?
A silicone roller, and again, they're roughly $10 to $15. You don't want to use a EPDM steel roller when you're heat welding something. First of all, that's a lot, 400 or 500 degrees coming out of a handgun, or the robot could be 1,000 degrees. You're trying to hand roll something with a steel roller, that's going to get hot, and you're not going to have you could actually damage the membrane. Yep. Scissors, you don't want to bring the scissors your kids use at daycare to try and cut TPO membrane. A good pair of scissors is going to run you $30 or $40. It'll last you a long time.
You can tell when you're using those scissors that they're good. Like,
yep.
They feel like a piece of equipment.
Yeah, you don't want to use scissors on a commercial roof. Rollers, probes, that stuff all adds up in the long run, but don't buy cheap stuff. Yep. It's easy to do. Plastic rollers. I've seen guys use plastic rollers.
Yeah.
When you're trying to heat weld something, plastic and heat don't mix.
Yeah.
So you got to have a quality roller.
Yep. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I guess I'll touch one more thing, like the hand rollers. There's some that have different angles on them. Some are made for left-handed, right-handed, going from right to left. Some have a curve in them to make your, say it's easier on your wrist. So there's a lot of options with the rollers, right? Yeah.
And again, this is personal preference. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm going to grab a wooden handle roller. There's no ergonomics to it. Now they've got specialty rollers. They claim for details. They got like little window screen rollers for like doing creases. But if you look like, and I know we have a lot of time here, but like in a T-joint area, you got to crease that. Well, these little detail rollers are rounded. Okay, it's like they're putting in a window screen, basically what they look like. It's very hard to get that crease with a rounded roller because that's a 90-degree angle. You got to get that right. That rounded roller doesn't do you any good. A lot of guys go, you're full of crap. I use it all the time. I'm just telling you, I've seen a lot of stuff go bad when guys are using funky stuff like that. So,
okay. So, thank you for being on today, Wally. Any last comments about the importance of equipment or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
maybe what to look for when is there any new equipment coming out that we should keep our eye on?
There's stuff can't really speak about it, but I've been, I've been showing some stuff that's coming out, but it's just give an example. They got stuff coming out. Looks like the a Roomba for the Ride-A-Bun system that they actually find it's kind of out there. It's still in the
wow.
I mean, that's for you got to keep up on this stuff because it's new technology. And I know real quick, we kind of glanced over the difference in the robots. There's all kinds of robots out there. Again, you get what you pay for. And just throw Leicester and Hapco. A lot of guys I hate Hapco, hate Leicester, vice versa. Those robots, they look the same, they weld totally different. So if you using a BIK and you all of a sudden you buy a Leicester, there's a learning curve with that. You got to learn how to work with both machines. So
I like what you said about the piece of equipment that looks like a Roomba, because in commercial industry we're starting to see more and more of it being automated, right? Like labor is being minimized, or the job's made easier because it's being automated. And residential, it's hard to automate anything in residential because of the steepness of it, because of typically you got a smaller area with a lot of details and landscaping around. It's more complicated. But with commercial, we're starting to see things that are automated and makes our job easier with better equipment. And it doesn't always have to be big equipment. Like this little thing you're talking about is probably just a little piece of equipment, but it maybe eliminate one full-time guy in your crew. That's what I love about commercial.
And you're not really eliminating. You're going to find something else for that guy to do. So everybody's freaking out. Rippers out.
Yeah.
Like you said, anything that cut down on your labor, save your guys. It just, to me, that's just an extra.
I guess that's a good point to make, because we're so easy to say like it eliminates that one guy or it cuts out that one guy. Well, we're not cutting out a guy. It's not like we're like, hey, we got this piece of equipment. See you later, Bob. I mean, we don't do that. But we all know in this day and age, it's hard to find skilled workers. It's hard to find laborers. And so, if you can have a piece of equipment that can ease that burden, why not? So.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
But, well, hey, thanks for being on today, Wally. I really appreciate it. I know you're passionate about what you do and your training, and we're actually going to be releasing a video on our other group that you and I filmed a few months ago when I stopped by your facility. It's a great 35-minute session on how to actually set up the welder and all the knobs and everything. And so just by watching you do that video, it's like I can tell like you're just passionate about what you do and you love teaching guys.
Yeah, teaching guys, and again, some guys are thinking, well, this guy's a know-it-all. No, I'm not a know-it-all. To me, I want to try and make the industry better as a whole. Yeah, that's kind of my goal. I mean, I've been in a lot. I owe a lot back to it. So. Yep.
Well, hey, thanks for being on, and hope you have a great the rest of your day.
All right, thanks for having me, Andy.
You're welcome.
All right.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.